Have you ever looked at your breakfast plate and thought, what am I supposed to eat now that eggs don't agree with me anymore? Maybe your doctor suggested cutting back. Maybe eggs upset your stomach. Or perhaps they've simply become too expensive to eat as often as you used to. For many adults over 60, that's a frustrating situation because for years, eggs have been considered one of the easiest ways to get protein. So when they're no longer an option, it's easy to wonder whether building or maintaining muscle is still possible. Here's the good news. Eggs aren't the only affordable source of quality protein. In fact, some of the best muscle-supporting foods are inexpensive, easy to find, and may already be sitting on the shelves of your local grocery store. And here's something many people don't realize. As we get older, maintaining muscle isn't just about looking strong. It can influence how easily you get out of a chair, carry groceries, climb stairs, enjoy a walk around the neighborhood, or stay active enough to do the things you love. That's why what you eat becomes increasingly important. The encouraging part is that you don't need expensive supplements or trendy health products. Sometimes the simplest foods are the ones that quietly become part of everyday life. In today's video, we'll look at 6 budget-friendly foods that can help you get more protein into your meals if eggs are no longer your first choice. But don't assume the most useful food is the one everyone talks about. The number one food on today's list is often sitting right beside dozens of other dairy products. Yet many shoppers walk past it without realizing just how practical it can be. And before we finish, I'll also share one simple eating habit that many older adults overlook completely. Surprisingly, that habit may matter just as much as the foods themselves. So let's get started. 1. Cottage cheese. Most people think cottage cheese is just another dairy product. That's one reason it's so easy to overlook. Yet for many adults over 60, cottage cheese can be one of the simplest and most affordable ways to add more protein to everyday meals. What makes it especially practical is how little effort it requires. There's no peeling, no frying, no boiling, no complicated preparation. Open the container, add a few toppings if you like, and it's ready to eat. For someone who doesn't always feel like cooking, that's a major advantage. Another reason cottage cheese deserves more attention is its versatility. Some people enjoy it with fresh berries or sliced peaches for breakfast. Others pair it with tomatoes, cucumbers, or a sprinkle of black pepper for a light lunch. It can even be added to smoothies, spread on whole grain toast, or served alongside a baked potato. Small changes like these make it much easier to increase protein without completely changing the way you already eat. That's important because maintaining muscle after 60 usually isn't about making one dramatic decision. It's about repeating simple habits every day. Many people also appreciate that cottage cheese is soft and easy to eat. As we get older, chewing certain foods can become more difficult. A food that's gentle, satisfying, and rich in protein can make everyday meals feel much more manageable. But here's something worth remembering. No single food builds or maintains muscle all by itself. What matters most is your overall eating pattern. Adding a serving of cottage cheese to breakfast or enjoying it as a snack between meals can simply become one practical way to include more protein in your day. Sometimes it's the habits that seem the smallest that are the easiest to keep. And those are often the habits that last. Because when a food is affordable, convenient, and easy to fit into everyday meals, it becomes much easier to stick with over time. Now, let's move on to our second food. Many people already buy this next item every week. The surprising part is that they often choose the wrong one without even realizing there's a much higher protein option sitting only a few inches away on the same shelf. 2. Greek yogurt. Many people think all yogurt is basically the same. That's an easy mistake to make. The containers look similar. They're often placed side by side in the grocery store. And unless you take a moment to read the label, it's easy to assume you're getting the same nutritional value from every cup. But that's not always the case. If eggs are no longer part of your routine, plain Greek yogurt can be another simple and affordable way to help increase your daily protein intake. One of the reasons it's so popular is convenience. There's no cooking, no cleanup, and no waiting. It's ready whenever you are. For busy mornings, a quick lunch, or even an afternoon snack, it can fit into your day with very little effort. That's one reason many older adults find it easier to stay consistent. Consistency matters because maintaining muscle after 60 isn't about what you eat once in a while. It's about the choices you make day after day. Greek yogurt also works well with a variety of foods. Some people enjoy it with blueberries, strawberries, or sliced bananas. Others add a handful of walnuts, almonds, or a spoonful of oats for extra texture and satisfaction. You can even use it as a healthier substitute in recipes that normally call for sour cream or mayonnaise. Small changes like these can help add more protein to meals you already enjoy without making your diet feel completely different. One simple tip is to look for plain Greek yogurt instead of flavored varieties whenever possible. Many flavored versions contain added sugars that can quickly change the overall nutritional value. If you enjoy a little sweetness, adding your own fresh fruit allows you to control both the flavor and the ingredients. That's often a simple habit that feels easy to maintain over time, and that's really the bigger picture. Building meals around practical, protein-rich foods doesn't have to be complicated. The easier a habit is to repeat, the more likely it becomes part of your everyday routine. Sometimes, the best food isn't the one with the fanciest label. It's the one you'll actually eat consistently. Now, let's move on to our third food. This next one has been sitting in kitchen pantries for decades. It doesn't require much preparation, lasts for a long time, and many older adults already have it at home. Yet surprisingly, it's often overlooked when people think about affordable ways to support muscle after 60. 3. Canned tuna. Some of the most practical foods aren't the ones making headlines. They're the ones that quietly stay in the pantry until you need them. Canned tuna is a perfect example. But when it comes to affordable protein, it's one of the most dependable foods you can keep on hand. One reason canned tuna stands out is convenience. There's no thawing, no lengthy preparation, and no complicated recipe required. Open the can, drain it, and it's ready to become part of a meal. That simplicity can make a real difference on days when cooking feels like more work than you'd like. Many people enjoy tuna in a sandwich. Others mix it into a fresh salad, add it to pasta, or serve it with whole grain crackers and sliced vegetables. It's flexible enough to fit into different eating styles without requiring a complete change in your routine. That's one reason it has remained a pantry favorite for generations. For many older adults, keeping a few cans on hand simply makes meal planning easier. It's also one of the reasons tuna can be a budget-friendly alternative when eggs aren't an option. You don't have to rely on expensive specialty foods to add more protein to your meals. Sometimes, the most practical solutions have been sitting in your kitchen all along. After all, healthy habits are rarely built around one single food. They're built around making good choices consistently. And canned tuna is one of those simple choices that can fit naturally into everyday life. Now, let's move on to our fourth food. This next one has been feeding families for generations. It's inexpensive, filling, and surprisingly versatile. Yet many people still underestimate just how much it can bring to the table. 4. Lentils. Many people spend time searching for expensive health foods while overlooking one of the most affordable protein-rich foods in the grocery store. That food is lentils. If eggs are no longer part of your diet, lentils can be another smart way to add more protein to your meals without adding much to your grocery bill. They're also incredibly versatile. A warm bowl of lentil soup, a hearty stew, a side dish with vegetables, or even mixed into salads. There are plenty of simple ways to enjoy them. Another advantage is cost. Compared with many animal-based protein sources, lentils are often one of the least expensive options available. That's welcome news for anyone trying to eat well without spending a fortune at the grocery store. But here's something many people overlook. You don't have to replace every animal protein with lentils. Instead, think of them as another useful option. One day you might enjoy cottage cheese. Another day, Greek yogurt. The next day, canned tuna. Then perhaps a bowl of lentil soup. That kind of variety makes healthy eating feel more enjoyable and much easier to maintain over time. And that's exactly what we're aiming for. Not perfection, not complicated meal plans, just practical choices you can realistically keep making week after week. Because the habits that last are usually the ones that fit naturally into everyday life. Now, let's move on to our fifth food. Most people automatically reach for one particular cut of chicken, but there's another option that's often more affordable, just as satisfying, and surprisingly easy to prepare. 5. Skinless chicken thighs. When people think about eating more protein, chicken is usually one of the first foods that comes to mind. But here's where many shoppers miss an opportunity. They head straight for the chicken breast without giving much thought to the other options sitting right beside it. Skinless chicken thighs deserve a closer look. They're often less expensive, naturally flavorful, and easy to include in everyday meals. For many older adults, they can also be easier to enjoy because they tend to stay tender when cooked properly. No one enjoys dry, tough chicken. A meal that's pleasant to eat is much more likely to become part of your regular routine. That's one reason simple foods often outperform complicated recipes. Chicken thighs are also incredibly versatile. They work well in soups. They're great in stews. They can be baked with vegetables, sliced into wraps, added to salads, or served alongside rice and steamed vegetables. Of course, portion size and balance still matter. A healthy meal isn't only about protein. Adding colorful vegetables, whole grains, or other nutritious foods helps create a more complete plate. Healthy eating works best when different foods complement one another, not when one food tries to do everything. And that's an important reminder throughout today's video. No single food replaces eggs perfectly. Instead, each one offers another practical way to include quality protein as part of a balanced eating pattern. That's what makes long-term habits much easier to maintain. Now, let's move on to our sixth and final food. This last choice isn't expensive. It isn't trendy. In fact, it's probably already sitting in millions of kitchens across America. Yet many people still underestimate just how useful it can be for building simple, protein-rich meals after 60. 6. Beans. Black beans or pinto beans. Sometimes the best foods are the ones people have been eating for generations, not because they're expensive, not because they're trendy, but because they're practical. Black beans and pinto beans are perfect examples. They're inexpensive, easy to find in almost any grocery store across the United States, and can become a valuable part of a protein-rich eating pattern after 60. Many people think of beans as nothing more than a side dish, but they can be much more than that. They can become the foundation of an entire meal. Add them to soups, mix them into chili, serve them with brown rice, toss them into salads, or enjoy them as a simple side of chicken or fish. Beans also pair naturally with many of the foods we've already discussed today. Imagine a simple meal with skinless chicken thighs, black beans, and steamed vegetables, or a bowl of lentil soup with a spoonful of cottage cheese on the side. Maybe Greek yogurt with fresh berries for breakfast and a tuna salad for lunch. None of these meals are complicated. None require expensive ingredients. They're simply practical ways to include more protein throughout the day. And that's really the message behind today's video. If eggs are no longer part of your routine, you still have plenty of affordable options. You don't have to rely on one single food. In fact, rotating different protein-rich foods throughout the week often makes meals more enjoyable. It also helps prevent healthy eating from becoming repetitive. Because when meals stay interesting, healthy habits are much easier to maintain. Now, before you start filling your shopping cart with every food we've mentioned today, there's one simple habit that deserves just as much attention, and surprisingly, it doesn't involve buying anything new. After hearing about 6 different foods, it's easy to think the answer is simply eating more protein. But that's only part of the picture. One habit many adults over 60 overlook is waiting until dinner to eat most of their protein. Think about a typical day. Breakfast might be toast and coffee. Lunch could be a small sandwich or bowl of soup. Then dinner becomes the only meal with a meaningful amount of protein. The challenge is that this pattern may leave long stretches of the day with very little protein at all. Instead, many people find it more practical to include moderate amounts of protein throughout the day. Maybe cottage cheese or Greek yogurt with breakfast, tuna or lentils at lunch, chicken or beans with dinner. The goal isn't to count every gram. The goal is simply to build meals that consistently include a good source of protein. Small adjustments like these often feel much easier to maintain than making one dramatic change overnight. And that's exactly what healthy aging is about. Not chasing perfection, building routines you can actually enjoy and continue for years. Remember, no single food can do everything on its own. Your meals work best when they're part of an overall healthy lifestyle. Staying active, getting enough sleep, drinking enough fluids for your individual needs, and eating a variety of nutritious foods all work together. That's why today's list isn't about finding a miracle replacement for eggs. It's about showing you that losing one food doesn't mean losing your options. Sometimes the answer isn't finding one perfect replacement. It's discovering several simple choices that fit naturally into everyday life. If there's one thing I hope you remember from today's video, it's this. Not being able to eat eggs doesn't mean you have to give up on getting enough protein. There are plenty of affordable foods that can help you build balanced, satisfying meals after 60. Cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, canned tuna, lentils, skinless chicken thighs, and beans. Each one brings something valuable to the table, and together, they show that eating well doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. The most important step isn't changing everything overnight. It's choosing one simple habit you can start today. Maybe that means adding Greek yogurt to breakfast, keeping canned tuna in the pantry, making a pot of lentil soup for the week, or trying cottage cheese for the first time in years. Small choices may not seem exciting in the moment, but over time, they become the habits that support an active and independent lifestyle. and that's something worth investing in. If you found today's video helpful, let me know in the comments. Which of these 6 foods do you already eat? And which one are you planning to try next? I'd love to hear your answer. If you know someone over 60 who's looking for simple and affordable meal ideas, share this video with them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more practical senior food tips designed to help you eat well, stay active, and enjoy healthy aging, one meal at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.